Good morning, everybody, and welcome to The Art as Well. As you can see, I'm here in a haunted castle, given the weekend that's in it, Halloween, thanks to the modern technology and all of that. I have to say before I start that if I look like a rabbit caught in headlights, it's because I'm surrounded on my screen by what looks like a panel from the International Space Station, and it's a little bit daunting. So bear with me if there are any little glitches along the way. But apart from that, it should be fairly smooth. Anyway, welcome to this new series, which is Series 2, Episode 1, and it features the artist John Kingerlee. But before I introduce him, I'd like to talk to you a bit about the book, because that's why I've been disappeared for the last 2 months, effectively, producing this book. Many of you may have already seen it, but it's available on the website and all of that. And we've had a great fun over the last couple of weeks doing a book tour, which we started about 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, maybe, in the United Arts Club. And we had a wonderful evening there. John McGlynn sang a song for us, which was rather nice to finish off the evening. And then the next day, a Sunday, we went down to Shankill Castle in County Kilkenny, home of Elizabeth and Geoffrey Cope. And we had a fantastic evening, and the sun was splitting the stones for some peculiar reason. And it was a tremendous time. We had loads of artists, and I have a little tiny clip as a reminder that will show you some of the artists who were there. Then from there we went on to West Cork to Allihies, and we met another 5 artists that are featured in the book. We had a wonderful evening in the Copper Mines Museum, and Trina and I made a weekend of it, and we had a phenomenal time. It was just an extraordinary part of the world, and I'd recommend it for a visit. We even visited a Buddhist temple there, which was very interesting. So then today, this afternoon, I'm off to the Olivier Cornet Gallery, where Yanni Peters has a fantastic exhibition on at the moment, well worth visiting. So you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, come in and say hello, buy a book or collect a book if you're on that list, and view her exhibition. Well worth seeing, well worth seeing. And then finally, although I'm sure there might be a few other little occasions around the country, we are going down to Kilcock to Breathe the Smith's Art Gallery, Kilcock Art Gallery in County Kildare. And at that, the Minister for Arts and Culture, Catherine Martin, will be officially launching the book. As you know, she's written the foreword in the book, which we're delighted to get, and that's thanks to Breathe the Smith for introducing us. And so she'll be there officially launching the book. And that should be a special occasion too. So maybe I'll give you just a little quick flavour of the book for those of you who haven't seen it, and for some of the occasions that we've had already. So that'll just give you a bit of a flavour of the book. It will make a wonderful Christmas present for the artist in your life, or for anybody you know who's interested in the arts. And even as a corporate gift, I'd be happy to to talk to anybody who might like that as a potential gift for clients. Just email me, alan@aka, and I'll get back to you, and we'll find some way of getting the books to you. Postage is obviously an option, but you're welcome to collect them from my studio here in Foxrock anytime at all. Okay, so let's move on to our guest today. It's John Kingerlee. Now, most of the, if not vast majority of the interviews that I'm going to be doing in Series 2 will be actually live, fully live, as I am now. But sometimes it's difficult to get people on a Saturday, and particularly in this case, if somebody decides to go off to Morocco for a couple of months. So we did record it, but the vast majority next week, for instance, will be live, and most of them from there on. But anyway, look, the main thing is to enjoy it. And if you have any comments right throughout the interview, you can make them. They'll come up on screen if I put them up. So do please make comments at any time. And after that, we'll have a Q&A. Okay, so let's move straight into that. And I have to press the right button now. That's it. Okay, enjoy this. So, John, we're here at the start of a new series of The Artist's Well. And as you know, we've done 54 of these already. And I'm delighted to get the opportunity to talk to you before you head off on your travels. And we're here in the Holiday Inn by the airport. Yeah. And your flight is tomorrow, I gather. Yes. So it's a great thrill for me to meet you, firstly, and also to be able to nab you before you head off for a couple of months.
Well, here I am.
Well, lovely, and thank you.
Pleasure.
So listen, take me back to your childhood, if you will, just to give me a kind of an idea about why you ended up being an artist.
That's something in me, I think, from the very start, even though I never saw it or knew it. Mm-hmm. Back to childhood. My father had given me an orange, and every time he met me, he worked in a hotel in Devonshire, in Goodrington. He'd give me an orange, and he'd carry me on his shoulder, and the orange was like a treasure in my hand.
Yes, yes.
And years later, when I was married, early in the marriage, I told my wife about this, and suddenly I was there with that orange in my hand. It was the most extraordinary experience. Another early experience was, well, my auntie looking in through the bars of the horse box and saying, "Come out, John, come out, lovey, come out, you little bugger." And I crawled in to the horse box of the horse Cossack, who had badly injured two grooms, almost killed one. And my auntie had bought this horse off Tim MacLeod, who was a sort of musical cowboy doing acts, because MacLeod couldn't cope with this horse. And I crawled in under this potential killer. And I remember being totally at ease with my friend with his big black nose looking down at me, and sitting again on this golden straw.
Yes.
And my auntie doing all of that. Yeah. Yeah.
So when is your first memory of when you took up a pencil or a brush and started to create?
I can't fully answer that. My first memory of being fully an artist was at the modern secondary school in Devonshire, and I'd been to see the silent film, I think it was silent, of King Kong, and I was so moved and swept away by it, and for a whole year I'd be drawing King Kong pictures.
Yes,
and that was the first time I was really fully an artist.
Right.
And I realised it was coming out of a passion, a feeling, nothing to do with intellect, just discharging this feeling. And this kind of hero worship of King Kong, because I was totally on his side.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. Interesting. And you obviously saw that film?
Yes.
Yeah, the
Yes,
original.
That's what moved me to do it.
Yeah, interesting.
And years later I met someone, they said, I found one of your King Kong drawings in the back of the classroom.
Yeah.
I would love to see them now, but they've all gone.
I know.
Yeah.
You seem to have had kind of happy childhood or childhood memories, do you?
Up until adolescence and up until sex began to emerge in my life, and that got difficult because I had no kind of authentic guidance, except the guidance which comes from celibate priests. I was at Catholic boarding school, which is in reality is no guidance at all. How could it possibly be a guidance?
Yes.
Men who ridiculous situation.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I was at a Catholic boarding school before the whole paedophile nightmare kicked in. They were still good men.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what did you do when you left boarding school?
I went to a teacher's training college for one term, and at St Luke's in Exeter, and found that it wasn't for me. I'd been in London and I'd been in Soho, and I packed that in and went straight off up to London, to Soho, to meet the poets and painters and the rest of the outsiders.
Yes.
So I was in the French cafe a lot, and in the French pub. Not that I drank much at all at that time.
Yeah. And was there anybody who influenced you from that bunch in particular?
A writer, Peter Everett. He was a brilliant man, brilliant mind, with a great love of words. He's written several books, excuse me, but he died so young. Yeah. I remember one amusing story he told me. In Soho, 1 in the morning, he's with a group of friends, and one of whom is American. And they're rather drunk, and they see this fellow lying in the gutter in Compton Street, Old Compton Street. And the American goes over it and shakes his chap in the gutter and says, "Hey man, are you all right?" And the man on the floor opens his eyes and says, "I love Abraham Lincoln too."
Those were the days, huh?
Those were the days.
Yeah.
And then Ironfoot Jack was alive then, a very interesting chap. And I was his friend. Yeah.
So when did you set up studio?
Since I started painting in earnest in London, wherever I was in a studio here and now, right?
Yes.
A proper studio, well, when did I get a proper studio?
You went down to Cornwall for a while, didn't you?
Yes, but I was always painting. Yeah, I'd be painting in the house at the kitchen table. No studio then. It was until West Cork, until I got to West Cork, did I have a studio.
Formal studio.
Yeah.
And what year was that again?
I think we first arrived in West Cork in '82, but 82. It would have been like 87 or something. I had a studio, 88.
Yes.
87,
Yeah.
85.
Yeah.
My wife has dates in her head. I'm very vague.
And what drew you to Cork or West Cork?
I was very attached to Joyce, and I liked the thought of Yeats. And my mother's family name was Hogan. I'd been educated by Irish priests, Maris order, and so I suddenly felt I want to be amongst Irish people. I want to be in a Catholic psychology. I'd spent 9 years or 8 years or whatever in this boarding school. So over we came. And I'd had good reports of West Cork.
Yes.
From friends. So here.
And no regrets?
Who?
No regrets?
Oh no.
No.
Oh no, Ireland's been very good
Yeah.
to me, and I think if you have to live in Europe, Ireland's probably one of the best places to be in.
Yes.
I hope it stays that way.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Would you describe yourself as a very spiritual person? Because I know
No, I can't talk about it like that. There's
Okay.
a God, and the most important thing in your life is your relationship.
Yes.
Or is one's relationship with the Creator.
Sure. Yeah.
Everything else comes second to that. I've always felt, since I was a little kiddie, there is a God.
Yes.
And I find it very difficult to be with people who describe themselves as atheists. And they're a bit scary, in fact.
Yeah. Yes.
Don't you? I mean, it seems brainlessly arrogant. I mean, everything that we have is given to us.
Yes. Yes.
The colour of our eyes, the time we die, it's all given to us. And yet people can be barging around as though they've got some authentic solitary reality.
Yeah.
They don't have.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't have it, yeah.
And so you converted to Islam.
Yes, 88.
And what sparked that interest in that particular, without talking too much about religion, which
Living in a squat in Bristol Gardens in London.
Okay.
Everybody around me was strong on the dope, so they were either always up in the air or down depressed because of the drugs. But there was one group of people who were always stable, rather sober, obviously happy, and clean. They weren't living in the drug sexual mess that everybody else was living in. I was drawn to them. I found out that they were Muslims.
Yes.
That's the beginning of it.
Okay.
And then I found out that they were authentic Sufis with a sheikh of guidance in Morocco. And I made friends with a couple of them, and I loved to talk and hear what they had to say.
Yes.
Then I met the Muqaddam, that's a man who stands in for the sheikh when he's not available, as it were. And that was a very painful experience for me. I had lunch with these people. And
how painful?
Because I had to see the sort of person I was, had become, and I didn't like what I saw at all. Not at all. It felt like a disaster. Now I see it as a great blessing. Yeah. And I won't go into that too much. Time went by, I felt really smitten by it. And then I'm sitting in a cafe in Soho, and this man, the Muqaddam, came in out of the blue with a young Sufi and sat beside me. And then I had the experience that I had then.
Yes.
I won't go into that. I thought, this has got to be meaningful. And like 10 years or something after I became a Muslim, it was the only choice I could take. And of all the people I kept company with, these people were of the most noble character. So
very interesting.
I became Muslim.
Yeah. And
when I can meet a Sufi and he'll have my company, I'm in the best company I can be in.
And is that why you're drawn to Morocco? Because of
I have family relationships in Morocco
Yes.
that I won't go into.
No, fine.
Yes, any Muslim country where I'm likely to meet someone of a pure and noble character.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I meet with very good Christian people, and yes, I do, yes. But for me, they don't have a full guidance for a human life. We know just about everything about the Prophet, peace be upon him, and if we do things in the way he did it, we're getting it right.
Yes.
The Christian knows so little about the Lord Jesus, peace be upon him. And from the Muslim standpoint, they feel they've got it right with regard to Jesus. That Jesus was a man, a messenger, a prophet, I think, for the Jewish people. And so they've elevated him, this human potential, to put him on a pedestal and made him a god, which is a disaster for them, because he was a man. And the Jews, their big mistake is to reject the fulfillment of their law when it arrived. Whereas the Muslims are in the middle and see him for what he was,
Yes.
and is.
And John, the world of art, how is that? How does that sit with your beliefs? You know, does one beget the other? In
It's
a sense?
a cultural world.
Yeah.
It's and culture can be. Well, the cultural world has become a sort of disaster because for many people it's a stand-in for religion. I noticed when I was in New York once, years ago, you'd see young fellas dying of AIDS on the pavement with a little notice, AIDS, help me. And at the same time in this city, I could listen to about 5 different music channels pumping out Mozart and Beethoven and all the rest of them. So this seemed to be their religious area, and it's not. Culture is culture. Something that lifts us up, makes us joyful, helps us. Spirituality can get into it, but culture is not spirituality. It can purify culture.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Do you agree with that, more or less?
I do, absolutely. Oh yeah. No, I totally see where you're coming from with it.
Yes.
And I admire you for having strong views about something that an awful lot of people tend to put in the background.
People don't want to think about their death.
Yes.
I find it a little more enriching than thinking about death. You get it on.
Yeah.
No time to waste.
Yes.
People say, oh, good, I'm thinking about death. It's not like that at all. One's just got a real grasp on the situation.
Yeah. So when you go to Morocco now tomorrow, will you be working in the same way as you do in West Cork?
No, there will be children about me and people in the room, and whereas I'm very solitary in my studio in West Cork.
Yes, yes.
What I would like to do in Morocco is get some of these kids who are potentially going to end up sniffing glue and who have no work of any sort, whose main job has to be in the criminal area because they've got nothing on offer, so ripping off tourists is how you get by. You work with some of these kids and find out if any of them are artists and they get the infection for making art, and sell stuff at the roadside with a little rock on their drawings to the tourists.
Yes. Yeah.
In fact, I'd like to do a few of my little man on the boat and tell them to tell the people to look at me up on the internet, and they'd sell like hotcakes and they'd be out of trouble, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would. How did you come up with that logo, John? Yeah, and what does it mean?
What it means, it's your solitude and my solitude in our journey through this life, each in his own boat, as it were.
Paddling your own canoe.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So have you used that for years and years? Is that a little thing of yours, yeah?
I used to draw a man with an open head, like a U.
Yes.
The head, and gradually that head turned into the boat.
All right.
And I thought, that's wonderful.
Yeah. And you sign all your work with that?
Even checks when people give me, yeah.
John, if you weren't an artist, have you any idea what you might have been or done?
Somehow found a means to live, at the best, a means to live surrounded by a garden with a little hut or house in it, and to look after that garden and to help all the animals and creatures I could in my garden.
Yeah. Mo, would you mind if I asked you a few questions? Huh?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, no.
So we're joined here by Mo, who's married to John, and you've been living down in Cork, obviously. Did you meet down there, or did you meet before?
No, we met when we were teenagers.
Oh, did you? Oh, right, okay. So what's it like living with this artist?
Great in some ways, wearing in others.
Yeah.
All this stuff all over the place.
Yeah. Are you allowed near it, or can you get near it?
Oh, I can't. Well, you can't stop tripping over it, basically.
No.
So.
Yeah, yeah. And do you get involved in art yourself, or?
No,
Have you
I'm a
particular-
practical member of the flower household. I
Are you?
sort of make things, or I did.
Mo's a wonderful potter.
How are you?
Well,
Beautiful
many
pots.
years ago.
Yes.
I do some gluing. I glue down some of the collage. I mount his work on my board.
So
and
we're a team, are we?
Yeah, and sometimes I put things in frames.
Yeah.
It's needed, and we have the right frame.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good, very good. And do you have many exhibitions?
No, not really.
No?
No, the pictures are just being sold. I have a patron, and he tends to buy most of what I do.
Yes.
And
Tell us about Larry. Has he been a sort of a manager or patron to you?
he buys the stuff and sells it on, or collects
Okay.
it, or does whatever.
Yes, yes.
So for years I've relied on my patron, Larry.
Very good.
He loves what I do.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
And I believe he's arranged exhibitions in America and such
yeah,
like.
I had a show that travelled. That's a nice story.
Yeah?
The lady running this organisation that puts on shows that travels around America.
To the universities.
What's that?
Yours was the one that went round to universities. around
Was
the
it
States.
universities?
Yes, yeah.
Well, university,
Yeah,
I
it was a
think.
non-selling show.
Well, he told me he made
No,
it.
that was from Alan Barnes' show exhibition, which was a...
Oh, well, okay. But I got the story straight anyway. Larry was asked not to bring paintings, please, just bring photographs. He didn't take any notice, he felt a bit naughty. He wanders in with a bunch of Kingerlees under his arm. And the man who'd been the art critic on the New York Times and was art critic too on the Village Voice, Bill Zimmer,
Yes.
for 20 years he worked. He's sitting on a bed in a hotel, and Larry gives him the pictures, and for a long time Bill just looks at one picture after the other, not saying a word, and Larry's sort of biting his nails. And finally Bill gets up and walks out of the hotel room saying, "America needs a painter like this right now."
Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant.
Brilliant.
Just brilliant. And Bill and I, we just love at first sight when we met each other. It was great. And we spent some time together, and then he went back to the States and died, within 6 months or so?
I'm not quite sure it was that quick. Certainly a year or two.
And poor old Bill, I never got to see him again.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Larry, this is interesting because I'm just trying to think from the people who are watching this, and the fact that you have a patron like that is a very interesting angle. Because artists generally they're relying on being taken on by a gallery, or selling their work direct, all of that sort of thing. But to get somebody like that is kind of special. How did that relationship happen?
He said it was in Tom Caldwell's gallery. I've got an anecdote about Tom Caldwell. Tom is taking pictures out of his gallery and putting them in a truck to go somewhere in Belfast. And he forgot something, so he leaves that picture in the doorway of the gallery and goes and gets what he wants. And of course, he comes back, the picture's gone.
Yeah.
And later he gets a phone call and a voice asked him, does he want this picture back and how much would he pay for it? And Tom says to him, well, who are you? And he says, I'm a born-again criminal.
Take as many as you like.
I never heard that.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, well, anyway,
Yeah.
Larry's in the basement of Tom's gallery, and there's a picture lying face down on the floor, and he picks it up, and he said he found it so beautiful, his hair almost stood on end, and it was one of my pictures, and ever since then he drove down and met us. And
But that wasn't his business, was it?
no, he was in the meat business, selling meat.
Really?
He'd always loved pictures and been involved with pictures to some degree, but the business where he got his money was meat.
I see. And how long does that relationship go back?
How long now?
He first came into our lives at something like, he visited first something like 99,
Yeah.
and then we didn't hear any more of him. And then he came back into our lives on 2001, and wanted everything and wanted big, so...
That's...
Yeah, it was a blessing. We were so poor for so many years with 5 children. It was a
Oh,
struggle.
you've had 5 children?
Yeah.
Wow. So what's your work day? Did you work 6 days a week, 7 days a week?
Get breakfast together and then get on with it.
Really? Every day? Almost every day?
Yes, yes. Yeah, bits of stuff in my bag I'm working on.
Okay.
So crayons working, coming up here, yes.
So would you do sketches with pencils?
Crayons, whatever
Crayons.
I've got to hand.
Yeah, okay.
That's feasible.
Mm-hmm.
And at the moment I'm working on smallish bits of paper I've ripped up to be assembled later.
Yes.
Very vigorous stuff there now, but all to be taken back and subtle. And
I know. And would you always plan a piece such an oil, say, and work on oils?
yeah, but the plan doesn't hold for too long.
Okay.
But it's a place to start.
It evolves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you work on one painting at a time, or
No,
several?
I've got over 1,000 things in my studio from years surrounding me. And I'm trying to finish them off before I have to go.
So would you actually go back to a painting that you've done sort of 10 years ago?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And when do you know they're finished?
That's
Mo
the
often
difficult.
works.
Mo tells you. All right, John, that's done.
Always,
Next.
That's, visitors come to the studio and they pick something up and say, that's lovely, that's beautiful. And then they, and then we look at it and think, well, somebody
And
else's eyes looks
you have to stop him saying, it's not finished yet.
Well, he does say that sometimes, but then you get someone who really likes it, and then you start seeing it with a different eye, because we're just surrounded with so much unfinished stuff that we actually do miss things. So if somebody comes along and they love it enough to be able to buy it, and you think, well, yeah, that can go. You don't want rubbish going out in the world, and sometimes you say, no, that can't possibly, can't possibly let that go.
Yes.
But other times you think, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is there anything, John, in the art world that you haven't done that you'd love to do, like a giant work or anything like that?
I've never considered that or thought about that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to deal with what I've got on hand.
Yes.
I don't feel the urge to do a very big thing at all. I just want to finish what I've started. I don't think I'll live long enough to do it, but I would like to finish a lot of it.
What age are you now?
85.
85.
85, yeah.
You're looking very well at 85.
So everyone tells me,
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that, yeah.
Yeah, good. It's all the clean living, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just all the clean.
All the hanging.
Well, Mo looks
Don't do
after me well.
Yeah. John, I always ask this question of the artists that I talk to, and that is if they had, I better be careful how I phrase this because I know stealing would be not a good thing to do, but if you were able to get or receive any artwork in the world, whether it's in a museum, private collection, anything like that, that you would love to have hanging over your fireplace or whatever at home, what would it be? I know I'm springing this on you, but...
One of Cézanne's Mont Saint-Victoire.
Okay.
I really saw one of those once.
Did you?
And it was such an education, how it all related, the bits and pieces of the colour on the... the whole thing would exploded. It was so beautiful experience. And I really felt I learned a lot about painting. And it happened out of the blue, as so many good things do. And it wasn't even an original picture, it was a reproduction.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And more so Victoire. And I love the thought of him painting this mountain. What a wonderful thing to do, just have a relationship with a mountain.
Yeah.
Day after day, year after year.
Yeah. What advice would you give to a young artist setting out now?
Keep good company and work as much as you can. And if it means you are poor, you don't have much money, just get enough to get by, but keep working. And if you do that, the money will come to you, if that's important, and it is, to get the next meal. Sure. Work hard, just keep working, and keep away from negative people. Yeah. Burroughs said, look around, see what everybody's doing, don't do it. Yeah. And that's, I think, good advice to the young people. Yeah.
That's a very good point. Yeah, very good point.
He was good on the one-liners, Burroughs.
Yeah. Well, I hope you enjoy that. I must say, I just love his last comment about advice to young people starting out, or indeed anybody in any sphere of life. You know, keep away from negative people and look what everyone's doing and don't do it. Do something completely different. And that's how uniqueness happens, I guess. So if anyone has any questions or comments, please leave them now. So, yeah, I mean, what I'm trying to do is to keep these relatively short, because I think an hour, and sometimes they went on for even an hour and 20 minutes. I think that's far too long on a Saturday. And it's better to have short, neat and sweet interviews like that. I hope you agree. Now, I would really, really love your feedback about using this particular technology as against Zoom. Some people love Zoom, some people hate Zoom. But it certainly has some advantages in that there's probably a better connection with people where you actually can see who's on. I don't see who's on unless they make a comment or they come into the green room and they're invited on. Now that's a facility which we have with this particular technology, and you can come on live. It's far better quality and all that kind of thing. And we get no interruptions of people leaving sound on by mistake, or coughing or having their breakfast or anything like that. So let's leave it there. Now, next week, I have a woman called Nadette Charlet, and it's an interesting story because when Trina and I were down in Allihies the other last weekend, we were going for a walk opposite the Copper Mine Museum, and we saw this absolutely adorable cottage, sort of down a little slope, just beautifully kept and gorgeous. And the two of us were sort of looking in envy, saying, "Ooh, I'd love to live there. Isn't that beautiful? I wonder who lives there." And the next thing, I asked Tim Goulding if he knew the chap who was taking photographs and video that we might be able to use during that launch reception. And he said, "Oh yeah, that's Richie. I'll get on to him," and all that kind of thing. So I got in touch with Richie. And the next thing, a number of people said, "Oh, you must have Nadette on the program." So I said, fine, okay, we'll have a chat and all that kind of thing. And the next thing, up comes Richie and he's beside her. And I said, "Oh, you're obviously the technology guy, you know." And he said nothing more of it. He was going off on a cycle. And I said at the end of it, I said, "Nadette," I said, "that was really nice of that man to come in and help you with the technology." And she said, "Oh, no, I'm married to him. I'm married to him. That's my husband." The little comment here from Derek. Hiya, Derek. Good. I'm delighted you enjoyed that, Derek. That's great. Yeah. Yeah, he's a lovely, lovely man. He's got views, you know, but at least he believes in his views, and you have to admire that. And I'm getting a comment now from Pamela, who's saying, "Yes, I think this format is definitely better." Yeah, please let me know about that, because I need your feedback in order to decide. I can go back to Zoom if we decide that that's a better thing to use. But if not, certainly this has certain advantages in terms of lack of delay. I mean, I can literally move from you create scenes in advance. So I can go back to a promotional video in the book, or go into John's video again by simply pressing a 1, 2, 3, 4 key. So it's fantastic from that point of view. So look, let's leave it there. Nadette will be next week. She will be live, and I'm certainly looking forward to that. But please do leave your comments. Let me know what you thought of that, or email me at alan@aka. And obviously, if you're interested in the book, if you haven't got it already, do contact me, and we have a few left. And don't forget, this is almost like a limited edition because it's not available in the shops. The shops are running out of books, by the way, so I've been told, coming up to Christmas. So, get in early with this, and it's well worth it. And it's going to be quite a document for the future, and for future artists to read. So thanks all for joining, and we will leave you with this little message. Happy Halloween. Enjoy yourselves, enjoy the weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next week. That's funny. Oh, there it is. No. Anyway, take care, everyone. Bye-bye. That's teething problems for you.